about respiration. By the end of this class, you should be able to state the uses of energy in the body of a humans. Why do we need energy? So why our body needs to make respiration reactions, and also state that respiration involves the action of enzyme since it is a chemical reaction. So it includes enzymes activities, and you should define aerobic and anaerobic respiration and state the balanced chemical equation for aerobic respiration, and also you should state the balanced chemical equation for um, anaerobic respiration in yeast only, not anaerobic respiration in muscles or humans. Also, you should state the word equations for anaerobic respiration for both in yeast and muscles or in humans. Okay. Now, you should also know how to investigate the uptake of oxygen by respiring organisms, how to investigate that really respiration produces heat by using either germinating seeds or by using small arthropods such as wood lice. Okay, let's start. Respiration. When we say respiration is the chemical reaction that breaks down nutrients molecules in living cells to release energy. So the main aim of respiration is to release energy. From where do we get this energy? From breaking down nutrients or food molecules in order to release energy. So either we need oxygen in order to do this chemical reaction, or sometimes this chemical reaction should happen even there is no oxygen, such as in our muscles. So if it happens with the presence of oxygen, since it is called aerobic respiration. And if energy is released from the breaking down of food without oxygen, it is called anaerobic respiration. So here, let's talk first of all about going deep within aerobic and aerobic. Let's state why energy is needed in our body. First of all, they are needed for muscle contraction. When you move, when you do activities, your muscles need to contract to move. So they need energy in order to move. Also, for protein synthesis, making proteins. Making proteins actually needs lots of energy. Cell division. When cell divides, also to make a new cell, to grow, to repair, they need energy. Active transport, as we said, active transport, as we took in the first semester, is the transport of substances that consumes energy against concentration gradient when particles move against their concentration gradient. As we say, growth, the passage of nerve impulses, as we know that every single order in your body, it is carried as electrical impulses or by electrical messages via your nerves or by the nervous system. So in order to carry these electrical messages, we need energy in order to carry them as electricity. And the last one, maintenance of a constant body temperature. As you know, when you feel cold, when we are in the when we are in the winter season, not in the summer, especially in the winter, we are endotherms. Our body should keep constant internal environment. So the temperature inside your body should be kept constant at 37, around 37, let's say. So if you feel cold or if it is cold outside, your body should produce more heat to make you feel warm. So That's why you need energy, and this chemical increases the respiration. The releasing of energy increases in order to produce energy because some of this energy is produced as heat. Okay, so these uses you have to be able to state them, very important. Now we said that with respiration either it is aerobic or anaerobic. Aerobic it needs oxygen and it produces large amount of energy. Okay, here's the chemical reaction. The word chemical reaction, you should know it, either word or symbols like this, balanced. So here is the word chemical reaction. Glucose plus oxygen, as we know that respiration is releasing energy from the breaking down of glucose or food. Glucose only is broken down, okay? Broken down with oxygen, there is a chemical reaction here to produce carbon dioxide plus water. Of course, energy is produced as ATP molecule, adenosine triphosphate. This is the molecule of energy. It is called ATP. Okay, here is the simple equation C6H12O6 plus 6O2 as a carbon dioxide CO2 plus H2O water. It is exactly the opposite of photosynthesis. Okay. Mainly, your body respires all the time aerobically with the presence of oxygen to produce enough energy. Okay? Now, sometimes your body needs to respire anaerobically. Inshallah, we are going to talk about this later on. But now, just know that anaerobic respiration either happens in our muscles in humans or happens in yeast. Okay, it happens actually in some types of bacteria. Bacteria respire anaerobically, such as in making yogurt. They produce lactic acid that makes the yogurt thicken or clot. Okay, here's the word equation and the chemical equation for anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic without oxygen, anaerobic without oxygen. So here, glucose is broken down as you see without oxygen. We don't have oxygen in the reactants. So energy is produced and another product which is produced, which is lactic acid. Okay. Here in yeast, microorganism such as um, other fungus, but mainly yeast respire anaerobically and it is used in many uses of our life. Okay, in industries, in many uses in our life. Inshallah, I'm going to tell you how. Here is yeast. Glucose gives ethanol plus carbon dioxide. If you notice the product here in muscles, especially in humans, in muscles, when anaerobic respiration happens, it doesn't release carbon dioxide because you don't have enough oxygen. And if carbon dioxide is produced, you will die. The pH of the blood gonna be so acidic, and carbon dioxide is gonna be abundant in the blood with lactic acid. So subhanallah, in the anaerobic respiration in muscles in humans or in animals overall, when glucose is broken down without oxygen, only lactic acid is produced without carbon dioxide. So memorize this point to recognize anaerobic respiration in muscles from that in yeast, that in our muscles we are not taking oxygen. So carbon dioxide is not produced, only lactic acid. Here in yeast, glucose also is broken down without oxygen. Ethanol is produced and carbon dioxide. Now let's talk about how yeast is used in industries. First of all, yeast is used in brewing or making wine and in bread making. In brewing, uh, um, they expose grapes, which is a sugar source for yeast to feed on. As we know that yeast is a living microorganism, so it needs to respire, it needs to eat, it needs to take nutrients. So yeast cells take sugar from grapes or from other fruits, but mainly grapes. In making wine we need grapes, so they press it and expose it to yeast or add yeast to it. So the yeast converts sugar into alcohol, the sugar source here, by respiration, breaks down sugar into alcohol, and of course carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide makes the wine fizzy, such as in soft drinks, and the alcohol is the main component in wine. So, um, yeast, yeast, after this, it is not living anymore in the grapes or in the wine. Why? Because the high amount of alcohol that is being produced and the wine now is compressed and closed. Okay, so the high amount of alcohol kills the yeast, which is toxic to the yeast. Okay, so here we have wine with alcohol, with carbon dioxide, which makes the wine fizzy, and the yeast is not available anymore. Let's talk about how it is used in bread making. We add yeast to flour. We add sugar to it in order to feed on this sugar. And we add water, warm water in order to activate the enzymes of the yeast. So now the yeast is respiring anaerobically, producing alcohol and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide makes the dough rise, since carbon dioxide is a gas and it produces lots of bubbles. These bubbles make the dough rise. But what happens now to alcohol? Alcohol evaporates by heating. When the bread is baked, alcohol evaporates. Okay, so here let's talk about the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Since aerobic needs oxygen, it produces large amount of energy, which is ATP. Anaerobic respiration doesn't need oxygen, so it produces small amount of energy. We have less reactants, so we have less products. In aerobic respirations, we have more reactants, so we have more products. At the same time, in aerobic respiration, the whole glucose molecule is broken down. Total breaking down of glucose. But here, glucose is broken down partially, not all of it broken down. Okay, here it's very important point to know this, that aerobic respiration occurs in mitochondria, which is the powerhouse. But anaerobic respiration takes place in the cytoplasm. Aerobic respiration eventually the product carbon dioxide and water. Anaerobic either lactic acid such as in mussels or alcohol and carbon dioxide in yeast. Okay, here here is an investigation. It shows how heat is produced by respiration, to prove that really respiration produces heat. So first of all, let's set the apparatus as we see here. Here we have vacuum flask, and we will say why vacuum flask. We have also cotton wool that actually is immersed in water to give the seeds water in order to germinate, to respire, and to keep germinating. Germinating means to sprout or to start growing into a new plant. Here in A, we have germinating seeds, but here we have boiled seeds. Boiled seeds, we kill the seeds. We boil them in order to kill the enzymes. So the seeds now in B flask cannot germinate, while in A they can. Here we have thermometer in order to measure the difference in temperature. What happens if the temperature increases or if it stays the same? If it increases, that means that respiration produces energy. If it doesn't, that means respiration doesn't release energy. But it does. So we want to prove this by using this investigation. Here, we leave it undisturbed for a day. We don't shake it, we leave it, then we record the increase in the temperature. Here I'm going to ask you questions. Why do you think that we have boiled seed and we have germinating seed? Here, boiled seed to work as a control to compare what happens with germinating ones. Okay? So, here, what is the independent variable in this investigation? The thing that we have changed. What have we changed? We have the seeds, either living or boiled. What is the dependent variable? What is the result that we are looking for? The increase in the temperature, if there is increase or not. What is the control here in the experiment? The boiled seeds in order to compare. Okay. Also, we should sterilize. We should make it hygienic. Why should we sterilize the surface of the seeds before we get them inside the vacuum flask? To kill microorganisms on the surface. Otherwise, the microorganisms gonna respire and release carbon dioxide. So high amount of carbon dioxide gonna affect the seeds and they cannot germinate or respire properly. Okay, so we need them just to respire. So we have to kill any other microorganisms within the flask. Okay, now why, if you notice that the flask, let's go back to the flask, it is inverted upside down. This is a very important point. Why do you think so? It is inverted upside down. As we know that during respiration, these seeds produce carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a heavy gas. That's why it goes down. It goes down through the cotton wool. Okay? If you want to make it more reliable, we repeat the experiment. We leave it for a longer time. These are the main points. We should not, by the way, we should not fill the vacuum with seeds. We should leave enough space for them in order to respire. Okay? Why do we use vacuum flask, not any other container or flask? Because it is well insulated to prevent heat loss. Because if any heat change or any increase in the temperature occurs, it is kept inside the vacuum flask and it is measured by the thermometer. We want the heat to be lost out, so we cannot see or we cannot observe if there is an increase or if there isn't. So here, in conclusion, heat is produced by living germinating seeds. Eventually, the germinating seeds in flask A, the temperature increases, while in boiled seeds, because they are not living cells, so they do not respire. So let's discuss it. Living germinating seeds carry out respiration and to produce heat. This leads to an increase in temperature in the vacuum flask. Boiled seeds cannot carry out respiration to produce heat, therefore, the temperature of the control remains unchanged. Thank you. Um, this is very important one to know. Inshallah, when I go live with you, I'll tell you the pages and everything. Um, and you're gonna have a guideline for this. Thank you.